A new report from the Oregon Justice Resource Center highlights what they claim would be the highly negative impacts if Portland implements the gunshot detection technology known as ShotSpotter.
You may have heard about this technology. Recently, city leaders opened up a competitive bidding process that would potentially bring a gunshot detection pilot program to the city. Fox 12's Riel Creighton has more on the group's fight to keep it out of Portland.
Pete and Nora, the Oregon Justice Resource Center, or the OJRC, says it's not just about ShotSpotter specifically, but the risk of bringing any gunshot technology to the city that they say does not make communities safer. ShotSpotter and other systems like it rely on a system of microphones placed throughout the city to detect gunfire, pinpoint the location, which is then sent to law enforcement who are dispatched to the area. Well, this new report argues it's a tool that brings an increased police presence to neighborhoods with little to nothing to show for it in the end. We spoke to one of the authors tonight, Amanda Lamb with the OJRC, who told us ShotSpotter and other programs like it put civil rights at risk for community members. Data on its use in other cities, she says, shows officers use gunshot detections as a means to be heavy-handed in law enforcement and perform unconstitutional searches. She says it could also compromise privacy because the microphones that record continuously can pick up street-level noise, including conversations, which Lamb says is a violation of Oregon law that requires two-party consent. But more than that, she claims it just doesn't work.
That it's not effective at actually helping improve community safety in any way, shape, or form. So other jurisdictions that have implemented ShotSpotter have found no increase in arrests, no increase in case closures, and no decrease in homicide or gun-related violence. What they do see is a significant increase in police workload.
Well, Lamb says Portland police response times have slowed in recent years, and this would overload an already overburdened and understaffed department. Meantime, ShotSpotter defends its technology, as have many other law enforcement agencies across the country and dozens of major cities that do use it, who said it's an important crime-fighting tool that detects gunshots down even to the number of rounds and potentially crimes in progress that often go unreported. Lamb argues that Portland needs a solution that is tailored to the needs of this community. Live in the studio tonight, Riel Creighton, Fox 12 Oregon.